Hey, so hi guys, my name's Aaron, welcome to my YouTube channel. Just thought I'd introduce myself in this first real video where I'm actually talking. So my name's Aaron, I'm 42 years old. I've been into fitness for 22 years or more. I originally grew up in New South Wales, in Windsor. I was a scrawny kid, came up to Queensland in 1988. Grade 5, and I was never really into sports at the time. I was sort of as I said, a smaller kid, quite a small build, and just generally one of those kids that I didn't have a lot of confidence, so I sort of generally would get pushed around a little bit, but always had a deep fascination with martial arts movies, and I loved watching the Olympics. And so I ended up going to high school, and basically the same sort of thing happened. I didn't really get picked on. It was just the fact that I felt like I was a little bit insignificant. So I decided to do a little bit of Taekwondo. One of the teachers at school, Mr. Kelly, was teaching me Taekwondo as a Wednesday sport. So I started doing the Wednesday sport, doing Taekwondo. That was pretty good. And then started joining his Monday lessons. And I think I did that for, I don't know, maybe 6 months, 8 months, until a couple of friends and I, this will be a story for another time, basically had a fight at a train station. I tried some Taekwondo kicks, got my ass kicked, was on the ground, and felt sorry for myself and realised that Taekwondo wasn't something that was really going to protect me, because it was more about kicks and I was sort of thinking more movie sort of stuff. So I ended up, it was actually my dad. He was working in the local area, and I knew a local kickboxer. His name was Mitchell Ohello, and he ended up giving me a video from a video shop. I think it was called Samurai in Paradise. It was it inspired me that there was actually a local guy in my area that was, had actually had a successful kickboxing career. So I found where I could train. There was a guy that had recently won a Queensland title. His name was Dale Richards, and I sussed out from the paper where he worked, rang him up and asked him where I could train. And he actually told me that he trained at another place over at Stafford, but there were some guys at the local PCYC that were training. So I gathered up a couple of mates from school, and we went down there on Tuesday afternoon to the kickboxing, or to the PCYC, to the little kickboxing gym. And straight away it was, okay, these guys were full on sparring, they had shin pads on, and the trainer Shane said, guys, we'll do some sparring. So we put some gloves on and went it out. And I actually had my first spar was against Craig Hogan, and Craig had done a bit of boxing for a little bit of time, and I'd only ever done the Taekwondo. So Craig literally bashed me. He smashed me. I was pretty totaled, but it was good fun. My other friend got in, Josh McDonald. God bless him, he's not here with us anymore. But yeah, he got flogged by another guy called Nick White, and Nick just came out flying. And then I can remember the next day at school, we're all talking about it, and we're all bruised and battered, and realising that kickboxing was the way to go. So I ended up getting right into kickboxing, trained me butt off, and just to get fit, and started to build a bit of confidence. I was still, I don't know, 60 kilos, I think, 65 kilos. And then one day my trainer said to me, do you want to have a fight? And I was like, shit. But jumped in, had a fight. A couple of my mates had the fights the same night. I won my first kickboxing fight and just loved it, fell in love with the sport. And from that point on, it was all about how can I get fitter, how can I get stronger, what can I do to better myself as not just a fighter, but just to build my confidence. So I really delved into it. My other mates didn't. Craig, he delved into it quite prevalently. He ended up going to another club at another time, and that was because our trainer at the time, his mum was suffering from cancer, and he stopped training for a while, and I just stopped training, but Craig, he wanted to continue. So he ended up going to train with Kerry McNaught and his guys, and had a very successful fighting career there. But I ended up going back to Shane after his mum had passed away, and he started to train again, and I got right into it. And I think it was 1995. I'd already finished school for a year, and I fought for a Queensland title, and it was my fifth win, Queensland title. Craig Hogan, that was before he had actually gone to the other gym, and Craig won a Queensland title as well. He won the Muay Thai title there, and I just won the kickboxing title, and yeah, just loved it, and I continued to fight. Ended up having about, I think it was 14 fights, so I didn't have a lot of fights. I was always just, had to be ready, had to be fitter, because even though you train your butt off and you get in there and you think you're fit, you never seem to be as fit as you could be. So I was just one of these guys that always waited, but I think it was a good thing in a way, because I ended up getting 12 wins out of 14. I had one pro boxing fight, got absolutely smashed. The guy had, I don't know, something like 60 amateur boxing fights, and I'd had, I think, 7 kickboxing fights. I went the 4 rounds, got dropped to my knees a few times, and that's when I realised I needed to work on my hands a little bit more. And so I continued and ended up, at the end, I had my last fight in 2000 in New South Wales. I actually lost it. It was for an Australian WKA title, and I got stopped it was the second round. Had a bit of a cry over it. Probably could have gone on and stopped a little bit prematurely, but those things happened. So overall, I ended up getting 2 Australian titles. I got a Queensland ISKA light welterweight title, Australian light welterweight title, and the Australian light middleweight title. My first loss came from Patrick Lovekin, and that was at Sunshine Coast, and that's when I was going to university at the time and hadn't been doing a lot of training. And although I was quite ripped and I looked fit, I just popped up to training one day, and Shane's like, "Hey, do you want to have a fight this weekend? We've got a guy who's pulled out. He's had 4 fights, 4 losses. You'll smash him." I'm just like, yeah, I just jumped in, and it was the worst decision of my life. Although I was fit, I had trouble holding my hands up within the first 30 seconds. Went the distance, lost. Good thing for Patrick. It boosted his confidence amazingly. It was his first win out of 5 fights, and he had beaten an Australian champion, a Queensland title holder, so he was pretty happy. And then it actually, when I'd finished doing kickboxing in 2000, that's when I started really getting into fitness. So I just finished at university, studying for a Bachelor of Science, studying in sport and exercise, and I just wanted to go to the next level, because all the stuff that we were being taught was very generic. We did strength and conditioning, we did your standard hypertrophy stuff. We obviously learned about how cells work, metabolism, all that sort of stuff, but I wanted to know the training methods that were working. So that's when I started to look into the Eastern Bloc, because I can remember as a kid it was always seemed to be the Russians, the Bulgarians, the Eastern guys over there that were really kicking butt, and it was always assumed that these guys were just using steroids, and maybe they were. But one thing's for sure, steroids by themselves won't make you an elite athlete. They enhance your athleticism. So I started really looking into those methods, and when I was looking at that, that's when I got into the Russian kettlebells. And I think I discovered kettlebells in, I think it was probably 2003, but I didn't actually get my hands on a kettlebell until, I think it was 2005. I'm just sort of pulling these numbers out of my head. I can't remember at the moment. And it was actually because I met on a guy online, Rick Ravensdale, who was formerly Australian Kettlebells, who's now Iron Edge. We'd all been talking about kettlebells, and no one would fly one of these Dragon Door kettlebells over to Australia unless you had one posted to an American, and then that person would post it back. So Rick just had this idea. He said, if I make a 16 kilo kettlebell, who'd be keen? And I put my hand up. So a few months later, he's had one forged up. I've had it posted to me. It's cost me $180 plus $20 postage, and that was, I was hooked. Just a 16 kilo kettlebell. I'd been working with a 25 kilo dumbbell for quite some time, swinging it, snatching it, doing various exercises, and I was going to go straight for the 24 kilo kettlebell, and I'm glad I didn't, because at the time I definitely wasn't as strong as I am now. But Rick said to me, the kettlebells have a different dimension. They work your wrists differently, so just start with a 16, and then build up, because you want a 16 for lighter exercises when you do get stronger. So I thought that was a great idea. Not soon after, I did order a 24. I think that was $220 at the time, and I can't even remember what postage was. And I remember trying to press that thing the very first time, and I'll try and find a video, and if I can, I'll post it. And I was trying to do a side press, and I was struggling. The weight of it, my lack of wrist strength, and I was just hooked. So I just started training kettlebells, and then I think it was after that we moved house. I was just in another suburb, and then I found out there was the Australian Don Stevenson, who had become certified from the States in kettlebell. So brought him up for Australia's first, or would have been Queensland's first kettlebell seminar. And I think that would have been in maybe 2008. Once again, I'm just pulling these out of my head. I can't really remember. And from that point on, I just became the go-to sort of person with kettlebells. And there's a few guys there that did continue with the kettlebells, but no one really continued like I did. And I think it was because I was a personal trainer, and then I just really embraced them. The one thing that was difficult initially was trying to bring them into the gyms, because when I was trying to bring them in the gym, nobody knew what to do with them. So they just walk up to a kettlebell, and they'd often do an upright row with it, or just a deadlift, and go, wow, that's heavy. You could do this crazy exercise with it. So there wasn't a lot of knowledge, and literally the gym owner that I was working for said, mate, we're not going to leave them here because just for safety issues, people don't know how to use them. So over the time, I started having small kettlebell workshops, just trying to get the word out about kettlebells. And then, as you know, it wasn't just me, but the whole kettlebells just blew up. I think it was probably around 2011, 2013. A lot of the CrossFit gyms really started to get into them, promote them, and kettlebells just exploded. So that's just a little bit about me and kettlebells. And so in this channel, my goal is to share with you the training system that I've developed, that I've been using for the past 20 years. So I did probably over 10 years of experimentation, kept a lot of logbooks, practiced and actually implemented a lot of workouts for my goal. So my goal was never to get huge. My goal was to increase as much muscle size and muscle density, power that I could for the weight that I was. And I eventually sat on about 70 kilos, and I think I'm about 72 kilos now. So my goal was always to stay at about 72 kilos, but ridiculously powerful. Because I believe the weights between 72 and say 78, 80 kilos is a really good weight for power to weight ratio. You find that as people get heavier, they may be able to lift things off the ground heavier, such as a deadlift, but it becomes a lot harder for climbing, where those weights sort of provide a really good balance. So I've been right into promoting strength and elite fitness in the same vein, to using kettlebells, bodyweight calisthenics, and then also I have another background which I'll talk about another time on breathing methods, Qigong, Russian martial art breathing drills for relaxation, energizing the body, and things like that. So I hope this gives you a brief introduction about me. This is the first time I've actually jumped on camera, because I don't like looking at myself, but I thought today, fuck it. I was motivated by Gary Vee, who said, who gives a fuck, just if you've got something to share, you've got to share it. So I'm starting here by introducing myself. Talk to you guys in the next video, where I'm going to start off and I'm going to show you 10 exercises that you can do that's going to improve your mobility, health and longevity. Talk to you next time.